Welcome back to D&D Analysis. I'm Joe, and today we're going to be talking about how to optimize gameplay as a player in your online D&D game. D&D always takes longer than expected. As a DM, I'll plan out a story arc that I think will conclude in 3 sessions, and 6 or 7 sessions later, talking about 20 plus hours of real-time play, the party's finally killing the boss and getting the cool loot. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with this, and it's something that I've come to accept as part of my games. However, there are several things that we can all do to speed up the pace of play a little bit. Today we're going to focus on what we can do as players, and specifically using tools in our online games to make things run more smoothly, more quickly, and really to have more fun playing our characters. Now, I'm going to be focusing on 2 major tools that a lot of people use, namely D&D Beyond and Roll20. D&D Beyond is an online database that has all official Wizards of the Coast D&D content. You can create interactive character sheets there, you can look up monsters, spells, you can buy digital copies of all of the books that have ever been published for 5e. Roll20 is a virtual tabletop, or VTT. It is one of the most popular ones, and while it does have some lacking in functionality, it's recently been getting a decent amount of love with new features, and I find it works perfectly well for my games. The first thing that we're going to want to do is download a Chrome extension called Beyond 20, which will link our D&D Beyond character sheets to our Roll20 virtual tabletop. It's a very simple process, and here's how it works. So in order to install the Beyond 20 extension, you simply search for Beyond 20. The first result that comes up is a link to the Chrome Web Store, and you simply add to Chrome, add extension. Beyond 20 has been added to Chrome. You can see the little logo up here. And now D&D Beyond will be integrated with Roll20. And this is super helpful. It allows you to do all sorts of things that just make the game a lot faster and easier and more fun. So once you've installed Beyond 20, when you open up your D&D Beyond character sheet, you will see this button right here, right next to the share near your character name. And if you click on this, it gives you a host of options that you can use to make combat and general gameplay much more efficient, and some of them I find super helpful. As a player, you generally want to keep this setting on Never Whisper, and as far as advantage or disadvantage, I personally find it super helpful to have it ask every time. Advantage and disadvantage come and go at random sometimes, and toggling it back and forth for every roll can be really annoying. So I find setting it to ask every time is really efficient. I turn off D&D Beyond's digital dice. Forced critical hit, this can be helpful if you are attacking a paralyzed enemy from within 5 feet. It will automatically calculate it as a crit no matter what, which can be really cool. If you're using a versatile weapon like a longsword or a warhammer, let's say you use a longsword and shield, you just set this to use one-handed, and it will roll it one-handed every time. Now, this last part on the basic page is something that I want to talk about and show you a workaround for. If I toggle this on, it will apply sharpshooter, but to the next roll only, which after level 5, you're going to have to toggle this on twice, which is just going to be annoying. So here's my workaround for that, which involves customizing an item. So this is a character I'm playing right now. It is a level 6 samurai fighter who has a longbow of warning as his main weapon. So the longbow of warning is on my actions tab. It's a plus 10 to hit. It's 1d8 plus 5. In order to really optimize my own gameplay, what I'm going to do is add another longbow of warning into my inventory. So now here's the second one. We'll make sure that's equipped too. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Customize tab. First of all, we'll customize the name. We'll call it Sharpshooter Longbow of Warning. And very simply, to hit bonus, -5, damage bonus, +10. So now, you can see our Sharpshooter Longbow of Warning has the -5 automatically calculated and the +10 automatically calculated. Now all I have to do is decide if I'm taking a sharpshooter shot or not, and then click the correct bow. This works for Great Weapon Master as well, and is something that I see players in my groups struggle with often. They will always be saying, oh, I forgot to make that one sharpshooter because, maybe they toggled on the switch and it only worked for one attack, or they're trying to manually do it somehow, and this is just so simple and smooth, and it works perfectly every time. I want to show you a few other really cool features that I use all the time with this character. A lot of these have to do with different party buffs that I sometimes get, and also some homebrew items, but they apply to all different types of situations, and I'll show you some fun ways that you can use Beyond 20 to really streamline combat. If you click under Advanced Options, you have these 4 fields here: Custom Roll Dice Formula Bonus, Custom Damage Dice Formula Bonus, Custom Magical Modifier to Raw Ability Checks, and Custom Critical Limit. These first 2 boxes are ones that I use all the time. So we have a Divine Soul Sorcerer Warlock multiclass in our group, and he loves to cast Bless. So what I do is I put 1d4 in this field, and then that adds 1d4 to my attack rolls and saving throws. Now, it's worth noting that 1d4 will be blanket applied to ability checks as well. So if you're someone who makes a lot of grapple checks or things in combat, you just want to be aware of that and make sure that you're not accidentally adding the 1d4, because Bless does not apply to ability checks. Custom Damage Dice Formula. You can see all of these things that I have used in the past in this character, and I'm going to show you how to write out basically a damage macro in this field so that it shows up very cleanly on Roll20. Now, the most common one that I use is the 1d4 force damage. Now, this comes from a custom item called the Red Wizard Arrow, where I can choose to sacrifice 1 hit point to deal an extra 1d4 force damage. Now, this is a custom item in our campaign based on the setting and what our characters are facing, and killed some red wizards, found these, traded for more of them, so I have a pretty good stash of these. So I often choose to apply 1d4 force damage to my attacks. This character especially is a Nova damage character, so on my big action surge turn, I know I'm going to be using all the modifiers that I have. In addition, one of my allies has taken the Gift of the Chromatic Dragon feature, which allows him to enchant a weapon for 1 minute to deal 1d4 elemental damage. Now, he often gives this to me because I make so many attacks, and being a ranged attacker, I'm usually fairly safe and able to make all of my attacks without issue. Now, we've basically agreed that lightning is the preferred damage. I think it's pretty good for resistance, and I think it's cool thematically. So the way that you word this macro as it is, you write force, space, and then 1d4, or whatever the dice type is. And this means that when you roll it on Roll20, it will say force, and then it will say the number of damage rolled. Then you can do as many of these as you want. Then you write a comma, lightning, space 1d4. And then the last part of my character is another homebrew item, which is very fun. It is called the Quiver of Chaos. It has 2 charges, and I can assign elemental damage to the next arrow pulled out of it. The damage type is actually random, and I'll show you another fun macro for that in Roll20 in just a second. When I do my Nova round on this character, I will hopefully have Bless active, and then I will have 1d4 force damage from the Red Wizard arrows, 1d4 lightning damage from the Blessing of the Chromatic Dragon, and 1d6 chaos on only 2 of those arrows because the quiver has 2 charges. So I'm going to show you what this looks like in Roll20, because it really will highlight how efficient this is. I'll show you a comparison between doing this manually and using these macros and tools, and how much quicker it is to use these online tools. So I'm going to go through what a normal turn often looks like when you're not using these optimization tools. And I'm not going to exaggerate this or anything. I don't want to be overly pedantic or insulting. My goal here is not to say, wow, look at all these bad players. It's to say, this is how the game is usually played, and there are some small things that we can all do just to make things go a little more smoothly. And that's really the goal of this entire video. So it is Li Mubai's turn. I'm going to sharpshooter attack. So 12 minus 5 is 7, so that's definitely going to miss. Oh, wait, I had advantage. So 22 minus 5 does 17 hit. Oh, 17 misses. Oh, wait, I have Bless. Does 21 hit. Okay, awesome. 21 hits. So that's going to be 11 damage plus 10 from sharpshooter, so 21. And 4 force damage from my red wizard arrow, 3 lightning damage from chromatic dragon, and 2 chaos damage. I've got to roll a d6 to see what type of damage that is. It's 5. Let me look up what 5 is. Okay, 5 is poison, so the last 2 damage is poison. Now, I played like this for a very long time. You know, when we transitioned to online play, everyone's learning the new tools. You don't know all the shortcuts. And also, like, there's nothing really wrong with things taking this amount of time as long as you're, you know, ready when your turn comes around. And you just sort of keep things moving. You know, rolling a few extra dice here and there and looking up a thing or two very quickly is really not that big a deal. But let's just show what that would look like using all of the tools that we just talked about. So we'll make sure that all of our macros are active. Here's the same, just one attack. And keep in mind, with this particular character, I'm making 4 attacks on my Nova turn. So including using the always ask for advantage, etc. All right, I'm going to make a sharpshooter attack. A crit, awesome. Bless is already on there, it doesn't matter. There's a crit. And here's a whole bunch of damage dice. And now all you have to do is add everything up. It would be nice if it would add it all up for you, but it rolls everything. And it's actually harder to see on a crit, so I'm going to just roll a regular attack, hopefully not crit, just to show how the damage lines up, because it's very readable when it's not a crit. 23 piercing, that includes the 10 from sharpshooter. 2 force damage from my 1d4 from my arrow. 1 lightning damage from my 1d4 chromatic dragon, and 1 chaos damage. Now, this last part, I'm going to show you how to make a macro on Roll20. This is, again, for a specific homebrew item, but you can use it for a lot of different things. If you need to just display something really quickly, and this can often come in more handy as a DM, but with this particular item that I have, I use it all the time as a player. As you can see, that's super clean and easy. You know, and if like the biggest downside is when you crit, you have to add up a whole crap ton of damage, that's fun. You know what I mean? So I think that this is a really good demonstration of how you can use the tools at your disposal to really streamline things. So here is the little macro that I use for Quiver of Chaos, which again is that magic item that allows me to add elemental damage to an arrow that I pull from it, and the damage type is chosen at random by rolling a d6. What I need here is to roll a d6 and have a quick little guide telling me what each of the numbers mean. Now, I'll admit that I'm not super proficient with Roll20 macros at this point, but it's something that I've started learning a little bit about, and this is just a very basic one that I do use with this character quite regularly. So in the top right, you're going to click on the macro tab, and I have the macro here. You type the name in. I like to type the name of whatever it is at the top of the macro, because then it will display, and then it's going to roll a d6, and then here's the little key. It tells you 1 equals acid, 2 equals cold, etc. So let's take a quick look at what that looks like, and it shows pretty cleanly Quiver of Chaos, rolled a 3, 3 equals fire. So this I find helpful with this particular character. One cool thing is that you have the option to show it in your bar. So you can see that it now appears right underneath my character name on Roll20. So if I click on that, it will simply roll the macro. This could be useful for something like a Wild Magic Barbarian, where when you rage, you roll, I believe, a d6 or a d8, and you get a different effect based on that. You could build this table, roll your wild magic surge when you rage, and then not have to look up what it does. This type of thing can be a helpful little addition to your arsenal, and the best part about it is once you've created it, it's just there, and you have a button that you can just click right underneath your name. Another thing I want to talk about is creating custom skills. So my samurai fighter has proficiency in thieves tools, and if you open up the thieves tool item, there is actually a button in the top right to use the tool. Then you get this pop-up menu which says select ability, Dex, select proficiency, proficient, and then you click thieves tools and it will roll. Now that's a little bit annoying. I don't need to have a drop-down menu every time I want to use my thieves tools. So what we're going to do is create a custom skill. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom of your skills tab, you can see I already have a bunch of custom skills on this character. You see all of your normal skills here, and at the bottom, custom skills. Again, all of my custom skills are here. The skiing ones were actually really fun. My DM for this campaign held a winter games, and I entered the biathlon, and won a gold medal, just saying. Very good at shooting, and good enough at skiing. So, add custom skill at the bottom. And what we have now is custom skill 6, shows up at the bottom of our menu. We click edit, we name it. I like putting the ability in the name so that you know exactly what you're rolling. And dexterity is the stat. We are proficient, and now there's my +8 with thieves tools right in my stat menu. Just click that +8. 13. That's going to pick some locks, but not all of them. One more thing that I want to go over very briefly is how to create a homebrew magic item to bridge some of the gaps that are left by the base features of D&D Beyond. I'm sure that anyone who uses D&D Beyond has found little gaps where, man, I really wish they had this functionality, such as like being able to swap out your spells as an Aberrant Mind sorcerer or Clockwork Soul sorcerer, for example. Two things that get used a lot that have pretty poor functionality in D&D Beyond are Booming Blade and Shadow Blade. Now, I've created some homebrew items to serve functions that I need in my games, and once I feel like I have a better handle on that and am able to be more proficient in creating those items, I think I'm going to make an entire video about that because I think it's very worthwhile. However, for now, I'm going to show you where to find a Shadow Blade that works as intended. So if you go to Collections, and you go all the way over to the Homebrew side, and you click on Browse Magic Items, then you type in Shadow Blade, parentheses, 2nd level cast. This is an item that I just uploaded that should be available to everybody. And right here where it says remove from collection, for you that will say add to collection, and you simply add that to your collection and it will appear if you search for in your inventory. I believe I already have one here. Maybe not. You'll add it to your equipment, make sure it's equipped, and then it's hard to see everything from here, but this is a rapier as a base weapon. So if you don't have proficiency in rapiers, you're going to want to go and give yourself a bonus equal to your proficiency in the to hit bonus. But if you do, it's no problem. And I've changed the base damage type to psychic and added an additional d8 psychic. So this is a finesse weapon, which Shadow Blade is. It's using my dex, which is +5 plus proficiency. So I get my +8, and the damage is 2d8 plus 5. So it's just an easily clickable Shadow Blade that you don't have to worry about. It's something I've seen in any game that features a Shadow Blade, is people looking at the spell and being like, well, how the hell am I supposed to attack with this thing? Because they don't make it easy. Let's say that you're using a build that features a spell like Spike Growth, or even something like Conjure Animals or Animate Objects. Now, if you're using one of those builds that pushes or drags creatures through spike growth for massive damage, it can be a little bit annoying to click all of the d4s that you need to roll. So a really easy way to do it is with a simple command in Roll20. If you type /R with a space and then any size die, it will roll it for you. So there I rolled a d6. For spike growth, it's 2d4 for every 5 feet traveled. So let's say you're playing one of those Eldritch Blast spike growth genie warlocks, and you hit a creature with 3 Eldritch Blasts and you blast them 30 feet backwards through spike growth. So very simply you would say, all right, I pushed them 30 feet through spike growth. That is 6 instances of damage at 2d4 each, /R 12d4. All the dice go boom, and you just did 24 damage, and it's super easy to roll. When it comes to animate objects and conjure animals, things get a little more complicated, but these are the spells that are often derided as taking way too long in combat. So when you're playing online, that doesn't have to be the case at all. Now, this only really works when you know the target AC. So sometimes through trial and error of making attacks, your party zeroes in and you know the exact AC. That's not always going to be the case, so if you want to use a build that uses tons of summons or animate objects, I think it's worth talking to your DM and saying, when I'm using this spell, is it okay if you tell me the AC of the target? In my opinion, I would say yes as a DM, mostly because throughout the course of combat, they're going to find out an 18 hits and a 16 doesn't. I suppose if they find out it's very high or very low, they could have a tactical advantage in choosing what abilities to use. But for the pace of play, I would probably just say yes. So let's say we have a target AC of 16. Now, this is where it gets a little bit complicated, and if anyone knows how to do Roll20 commands better than I do, and how to add your modifier to every roll, please let me know. However, here's a simple way that I do it. Animate objects, you animate 10 tiny objects, so you're going to roll 10 d20. That's your 10 attack rolls. The armor class is 16. The bonus to hit on these tiny objects is +8. So that means we have to roll a natural 8 or better to hit the AC of 16. You simply put a greater than 8. You roll your 10 attacks. And it tells us that we have 5 successes. So we know that each attack does 1d4 plus 4. So now we simply roll 5d4 plus 20. And there goes most of the time that people complain about when it comes to things like animate objects. One question you might be asking yourself right now is, isn't entering all those values into the fields in the Beyond 20 tab going to take just as much time as rolling the dice individually? Well, not really actually, because once you've entered them once, as soon as you start typing in that field, you're going to get a drop-down menu, and it's going to have everything that you've ever typed in there before. Even my Samurai Fighter that sometimes uses 1, 2, or 3 plus different damage dice of different damage types has a drop-down menu with all the combinations since I've used them all at least once. So it's really just one click to activate it, and then one click to deactivate it when you're done. I really hope you've enjoyed this video and can use some of these tools in your games to really speed things up, smooth things out, make things a lot more clean and a lot more fun when you're playing D&D online. So try using some of these tools and workarounds on your own characters and in your own games, and let me know how they go, because I personally use them all the time on my character that I'm playing right now, and I look forward to playing in new campaigns and finding new tools to use to optimize my play. Optimization doesn't just mean building the most powerful character. It means building the most powerful suite of tools to use during your game. So until next time, enjoy all of the tools at your disposal and have fun playing D&D. And I'll see you in the next video.